Hey YouTube, it's Luke here. I'm doing another review for you today. This one's on the Hadron wing by Flyzone. Really neat little plane, jet, wing, whatever you want to call it. It's got some really neat attributes, some things I want to caution you on, so this will be an interesting one for you. One of the most amazing things about this plane is the actual size of the box. Let me show you what I mean. Oh, where'd you guys go? Oh, there you are. Hi. The box for this thing is massive. They call it a pizza box, if you will. That is like 4.5 feet diagonal measurement. It's a huge box, but the great news is for you, this plane comes fully assembled inside. There is minimal assembly required. Now this plane is not for the beginner, let me make that very clear. When using dual rates, if set properly, this plane can be flown by intermediate pilots. When turning on high rates, it's definitely for experienced pilots. I had a really great time flying this plane. I want to tell you a little bit about it. Now this plane is a delta wing style, which means that it has elevons. So the elevator and the ailerons are all built into one. What this is going to mean for you is some mixing requirements. You're going to need a programmable mix, actually for something else called thrust vectoring, and you're going to need to have elevon mixing built into your transmitter. The best way to handle this plane is to get yourself the Tactic TTX 650. I've had this transmitter for quite a while, and the more planes I fly with it, the happier I am with it. It does everything that you need it to do. It does it well. It's reliable. The battery life is great on here. Now, I might have told you guys in an earlier video, but I want to show you anyway. In this TTX 650, I've actually replaced the battery pack that's in there with a 2000 milliamp hour 4.8 volt pack that I just recharged myself. So just a little tip for you there. But this thing is great. It works well, and it's easily programmed with the Hadron wing. One of the big things that you need to focus on when you open the box is this manual here. You might normally throw manuals away, which is what I do. For this, it's helpful because there's actually a section in here about programming the mixes, programming dual rates. I followed this manual exactly, and I got really great results from it. The plane was set up well. As soon as I started flying it, I had no issues whatsoever. The controller worked seamlessly. The biggest part is picking out what your favorite switches are. For me, I always use my top right corner switch for dual rates. That's easily programmed, and what the manual tells you is 100% and 60%, which that was set pretty well for me. If you're a little bit timid with something this fast, you might want to set your dual rates maybe 40 or 50. I like 60, and you can use a little bit of exponential because when you're easy on the stick, it's very gentle flying, and then when you jam the stick all the way to the side, you can get some nice rolls out of it, some nice aerobatics. So anyway, and then I use the second switch in right here for the thrust vectoring. Now this is a 3-position switch on the Tactic TTX 650, so if you're going to use that same transmitter, which I would highly recommend, that's going to be a nice switch for you to set that up on. So you're probably asking at this point, what is thrust vectoring? Well, actually, the motor is a brushless outrunner. It's built right into the back of the wing, right here, and it's actually on a hinge. So the motor itself hinges and is controlled by a servo. Okay, what does that mean? Well, it means extreme maneuverability. You have a rudder, and the rudder has a very large control surface. It's very easy to control. When you add in thrust vectoring, which you use this 3-position switch, the highest part of the switch I have is simple rudder. The second part would be thrust vectoring only, meaning the rudder stays stationary, and then the vectoring occurs when you use your left stick, where the rudder would typically be. And then the third position down is actually mixes both the rudder and the thrust vectoring. Now this is really cool, and you may have seen in some other videos people really showing off these flat spins. This thrust vectoring and those flat spins are really cool, but that's not at all the limits of what this plane can do. I mean, it is really wild. You can turn this thing around on a dime. It's amazing what you can actually do with it. It's very controllable. All the control surfaces are large. The elevon control surfaces are large. And while I'm on top of these control surfaces and things, the whole jet itself is made out of really dense foam. You may have had like TXR and RXR and other planes from Flyzone before that are made out of foam. Some of them can be a little lighter, some of them can be a little softer. This is extremely dense foam. I'm not going to lie to you, I had an accident with this plane when I first flew it. I got a little out of control. I was trying to run it wide open on a 4-cell lipo. I hit the ground really hard on the nose. This nose cone is actually removable. It's just got a little magnet on the tip. As you can see, I got a little mud on the front of here. That's from the ground. This nose cone popped off. This lid is on there by magnets. This lid actually just flew off on the ground, and that was the only thing that happened. And I kid you not, when I'm talking about an accident, I wrecked this thing at probably 75 miles an hour. My wife did not get it on camera, so unfortunately I can't show you that accident. However, it was pretty severe. After that accident, I was so amazed to go over and pick this plane up and find out that nothing had happened to it. Let's face it, you're going to have an accident with a plane like this. Something that's this fast, that's this maneuverable. You're going to be trying new things. You're going to be testing the limits of this plane. You need something that's this dense that's going to hold up to a crash like that. You can even feel it. You mark my words, when you open your package, this right here, this foam is so dense, you're not going to break the wings off of this. You're not going to break the fuselage. You're going to have really great results with this, even in the event of an accident. So the second great thing about it, and I'm going to show you the nice muddy bottom here. Snow's been melting around the Pennsylvania region, so got a little mud. There's actually skid plates. There's 2 little fins that are here underneath the wing that have skid plates on the bottom of them, and there's a little belly skid plate up at the top right here. This is cool because you can land this on gravel, you can land it on rocks, on grass, on asphalt really, and it won't hurt anything. This does not have landing gear, so it does require that you set it down on the ground. There's no problem with that whatsoever. I was a little concerned about how it was going to hold up, you know, setting it down. This thing does come in pretty hot. There's no flaps, obviously, or anything like that. So it's tough to really set up an air brake or anything. But it comes in, and you can really nose up, stall it, and set it right down pretty easily. So I had good luck with that. Build quality on this is phenomenal. Inside of this top canopy actually unscrews right here and comes off, and this back tail fin comes off here. The servo assembly, the way everything's laid out, the way it's screwed in is really, really well designed. I'm totally impressed with the choice of motor, servo configuration, and everything else that was put into this. The back rudder is actually on a steel rod with a nice plastic linkage here. It's a hinged linkage. Built really well, unlikely to have that disconnect or damage it. Underneath, you actually have 2 servos that are mounted right into the wing itself under here. The wires are neatly run and glued into the bottom, and then there's direct control of the elevons with both of those servos. So all in all, a really great design. Everything has its place. It's put together really well. One thing that you have to watch is if you're going to have an accident, you have to make sure to cut the throttle early enough. I did break one of my propellers today off the back of here. Now this is a pusher type prop if you're not familiar with this, so actually the prop forces air out the back. It's a reverse direction from a normal propeller. With that being said, the propeller comes down underneath the fuselage here, and if you are to hit the ground with the motor still on, you're going to probably snap that propeller off. So I had that happen to one today. Fortunately, they're really inexpensive. You know, if it's your first time flying something like this and you're a little bit nervous, you might want to get a couple extra propellers. It does come with a battery. This is a 2200 milliamp hour 3-cell lipo. These are fairly inexpensive, around $20 from Tower Hobbies. I happen to have a couple more for a helicopter that I have, so you definitely want to get a couple more of these because the flight time is only about 3.5, 4 minutes. I got 5 out of one flight, but you know, I was easy on the throttle. Once you get in the air and realize how smooth this is, you're really going to test the limits of what it can do, and you're going to burn up battery pretty fast. So if you want to stay up in the air, I suggest you get a couple more batteries. Before I go too much further, why don't you guys take a look at some of this flight I got. It was a really nice day outside. It's actually a nice warm weather we've had in a while. It was a little bit windy, about 15 to 20 mile an hour winds. And one thing that's to be said about this plane is that not only did I hear it's largely unaffected by wind, but it is unaffected by wind. I had a great time. Check it out. Alright guys, I'm out in my field. I'm getting ready to fly this thing. I've got about a 15 to 20 mile an hour wind. From what I've read, this thing is largely unaffected by wind, so I'll be able to tell you after this. One thing that's kind of neat is you'll see on the bottom, it does have little grips to hand launch it. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to throw it and then hit the throttle so that way I don't accidentally catch myself with the propeller. So we'll see how this goes, but wish me luck.
Yeah. Got it.
Bring it around. Great plane. It was a lot of fun. Again, built really well. As you can see, it looks pretty smooth in the air. I didn't have any trouble or any weird handling characteristics. Now, one of the major things I want to tell you guys about is how this battery is laid out in the front of the fuselage. There's actually lines that are set up inside of here, and there's this fiberglass rod in the center. When you put your Velcro straps in here to strap the battery down, my recommendation to you, and this is just what I had pretty good success with, is to set up your battery so the very end of it is at the third ridge end. Okay, now you may have different experiences than me, but that third ridge seemed to give it enough weight in the tail that when I came in for a landing, it wanted to set down really nice, and I didn't really have any issues with the nose raising up at all, you know, even under a lot of power. So it flew really flat, really smooth, even against wind. When it has tailwind, you know, I was having 20-mile-per-hour tailwinds. This thing really lights up. Now, I know it's supposed to do about 80 miles an hour, and I can't really tell you because I didn't have a radar gun out there today, but it was all at 80 miles an hour, and if not, a little bit more. So it's really intense. It's really fun. You want to make sure you have a huge open area for this. As you can see in the flight, does rolls really easily. Most of that flying that you saw was on low rate, on 60%. For that really quick roll that I did, that was on 100%. If you fly this on 100%, you need to be very experienced. You will see right away it's tough to control. I mean, you can get away with some pretty wild stuff at 100%, and that's definitely what this plane can handle. It's what it's meant to do. Alright, I'm going to speak to those of you out there who are having some concerns about getting this plane. When I first saw it on Tower Hobbies, I wasn't sure the build quality of it. You know, I thought maybe it'd be a lighter foam. I wasn't sure if it would really be fast or not. I know it has some claims to it. This plane delivers. It's big, it's easy to see in the air, it has an incredible amount of power, it has very smooth flight characteristics because of the larger control surfaces. It doesn't do anything out of the ordinary. If you have an accident with this, you're not going to have any trouble whatsoever. The nose cone is on there by magnet. You actually get 2 in the box, so you're going to be able to throw a new one on there and keep right on flying. I would tell you to go ahead and get this plane. If you have good orientation skills and you have been flying for a little while, this is not a bad investment at all. This plane is going to last you a very long time. You will not need to upgrade anything on this plane. You will not need to replace anything. Oftentimes I get worried about servos and things like that, and that is not the case here. I think that for the price on Tower Hobbies with their coupons, this is a phenomenal deal. If you don't have the TTX 650, now is the time to get one. Get one with this model. I'm not just saying this because I'm selling the product. That's not what I'm here to do. I am telling you this because I have never had a better transmitter so far. This is really, really nice. You can fly all the TXR models with it, especially if you already have a couple Flyzone planes or you plan on getting a few more. You know, definitely step up. Get this transmitter, especially with the Hadron wing. It's not going to let you down. You're going to be able to do all the things that this plane is capable of doing. This is just a great combination here in general. I'm really impressed with the quality of this. There's a lot of things that you can spend $200 to $300 on. This is one that would be at the top of my priority list. It's definitely worth the money. If you're a little worried about are you able to control this, what's going to go on, the only tough thing about it is hand launching it. If you have somebody else that can hand launch it for you, that's great. Honestly, a little bit of wind kind of helps because you can launch it right into the wind. That's what I did. But the biggest thing that I can tell you about this, when you launch it, it's not time to be scared or back off the throttle. The minute you throw that plane, you need to punch that throttle to the stop, pull back on the elevator, and it'll start flying. You won't have any trouble with it whatsoever. My first thought was, the first time I threw it is, uh-oh, and I wanted to kind of back off the stick a little bit. It's intimidating at first. Just punch it, let it fly. You'll see as soon as it takes off, you'll think to yourself, oh my gosh, this is so smooth. It really is. It flies around with no problems whatsoever. Again, just leave me any comments below. Ask me some questions about this. I'll be glad to answer them for you, but I'm telling you, this is a very good investment. It's definitely worth the money. Thanks again for watching, guys. As always, leave me any comments, any questions you have. I'll get right back to you. Please subscribe to my channel. I've got a lot of stuff on my channel, a lot of stuff coming. So keep your eyes out, and thanks again. I'll talk to you soon.